thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here in Helsinki. I was, literally called up yesterday and then decided to get here and talk to you briefly about e-Estonia, which is actually something that I do basically every day. I'm naturally from Germany, but I relocated to Estonia for a couple of years now, and I'm in charge of business relations, business engagements at the e-Estonia showroom. The e-Estonia showroom is an actual physical location where we host groups every single day to introduce e-governance, Estonian e-governance, to people from across the world. In 2018, we've had a little more than 800 groups from around the world that were all interested in learning what this actually means. The fact that I'm not an Estonian citizen, the fact that I'm a German citizen, actually gives me a very interesting perspective on what e-governance actually means, and how life can actually be made easier with the help of technology. So I'm pretty sure that you're very familiar with the status of the state that Estonia was in the early 1990s, when Estonia just regained independence. What's important about the early 1990s in Estonia was that Estonia was very certain that it first of all wanted to be on the same international playing field that it used to be. It wanted to be an equal partner in international relations. At the same time, it wanted to be a democratic society, and thus needed to build its institutions. But now you can hear me better, I suppose. Estonia also in the early 1990s had very limited means. The first budget of the whole Republic of Estonia in 1992 was actually 130 million euros. That's, even for a country of its tiny size, it's a very little resources to actually build an administration. So from the very early 1990s, actually Estonia needed to focus on finding ways how to allocate these resources as efficiently as possible, and at the same time guarantee this kind of service level that was needed to reach out to all of its citizens. By now, just to give you a comparison, Estonia actually has a state budget of 11 billion euro, so there is a huge improvement, and definitely the digitization efforts in the public sector and the whole society have contributed greatly to this. What's important about Estonia is that digitization is not an ideology in Estonia, but digitization is just another tool for how you can actually organize society, how you can make processes more efficient, and how you can actually reach out to your citizen and make life much easier for them. So digital leadership in Estonia, the model that Estonia tries to spread in the world, that Estonia wants to talk about, is actually the fact it's neither about the fanciest technology. It's not about always using blockchain technology just because it is a hype about it, but you actually need to have an actual use case why you would use that technology. And it's neither about the most expensive technology either. You actually need to find ways how these kind of solutions that you're investing in are actually bringing a benefit to the people that are using them in the end. Here, it's just an overview of where Estonia actually locates in international ratings regarding e-governance, etc., and other topics. What's very interesting is this one, actually. It's the DAISY index, which some of you might have heard about. It's the European Union index for the digital economy and society index. And Estonia is number 2 in 2018. Who's number 1? It's Finland, right? So I'm here talking about e-governance to you, but still, what's crucial here is, of course, you always need to look into how the services are used and what is actually being asked in creating those ratings. But actually, Finland is topping Estonia in that rating. What's important here is that what this illustrates is that actually has, for a long time, actually always actually learned a lot from Finland, just like Finland is also learning from Estonia now. What's important, what's a crucial factor for the success story of Estonia is actually that it learned from your, excuse me, ID card disaster in the early 2000s, right? You have an electronic identity card, but no one uses it in Finland. In Estonia, you have an electronic identity card that was introduced in 2000 and, wait, now forgot it, 2001, I believe. It will be on a slide in a bit. You actually have 98% of the population that have it and 67% of the population that actually actively use this card repeatedly in order to authenticate who they are on the internet and using services, filing their taxes based on this, etc., etc. So the electronic identity card also already gives you an idea where this is going. With the help of this electronic identity card, you have a digital identity. You can do everything with this because it's a government authorized and issued document that allows you to do everything that you would do in an office in a digital environment. So here you have the electronic identity card with the help of which you can actually access 99% of all public sector services in Estonia. So everything from filing your taxes to establishing a business to changing the ownership of your car to establishing a business I mentioned. So all these sorts of things you can actually do. What's even more important is actually about the card, because how often do you file your taxes and how often do you establish a business? Not these interactions that really create a lot of numbers or a lot of interactions with the authorities. What actually creates interactions with the authority or with where the card is actually benefit is if you have the private sector involved. If the private sector uses the authentication measures of the supported by the electronic identity card, you actually create increasingly more and more transactions. So actually the banking, the telecom sector, the insurance sector, energy sector, everyone in Estonia supports the electronic identity card. So it is something that is widely accepted and that creates incentives for the population to use it. So here are the three things, the three things that you cannot do with the help of the electronic identity card in Estonia is actually cannot get married online, you can neither get divorced online, and you cannot sell real estate online. But let's reflect on the marriage and divorce part actually, because technologically wise, it's not very different to decide whether you want to be with someone or whether you don't want to be with someone, right? You just swipe left, you swipe right. So this is not really the issue. But here this actually tells you, these examples tell you it's not about technology, it's about how culture actually affects procedures, how you want to organize society. These transactions are transactions that are very high-risk transactions that demand a lot of commitment. So that's why they're actually kept offline, even though technologically wise, it would be easy to do them. And here you have the electronic identity card. I don't know, maybe some of you even have been to the e-Estonia showroom. It's likely for a Finnish card, but this is I'm passing around my electronic identity card, and you will see it doesn't look much different than any other European or international ID card. What's important is that it's actually being used and you have an infrastructure around it. What you will see from it, it's a picture ID, and on the back you have the chip, and the chip holds two certificates, an authentication and a signature certificate that helps you not only to authenticate who you are, but you can actually sign all sorts of procedures, because that's the premise of an identity, of an identity card, that you actually have a physical proof of, let's assume I'm going to the post office. I want to tell the person on the other side of the counter, it's really me, I want to have my package. So I'm just presenting my picture ID, the person believes me because the person realizes this is a government-issued ID, right? But how does this work in an electronic environment? This is why you have the two certificates. But let's assume that I actually don't just want to receive something, I'm not just doing a query on my name, but I actually also want to perform a transaction. So I want to file my taxes. This means if I want to declare my taxes, I need to sign this. It's a legally binding act. So the second certificate on the electronic identity card actually allows you to sign all sorts of transactions. it's estimated in Estonia that the fact that you have an electronic signature saves I forgot the numbers. I haven't talked about this for a while now, but it actually saves significant resources to actually to have this electronic signature. So in the private sector and the public sector, this electronic identity card helps business owners to actually operate their business, to log into the business register and then there file their annual reports, etc., these kind of things, sign contracts, etc. Also, of course, this is not the future, it's just a plastic card. So in future, we actually, or not in future, but right now, I mean, we're using our mobile phones for everything. So our mobile phone should be capable of doing what the electronic identity card does. So here, you actually have the mobile ID and the smart ID just being an application developed by 2 Estonian companies that allows you to just use your phone to sign. I'm pretty sure that you're very familiar with this technology because also your banking IDs are very similar. What's just important is that you have one government-issued ID that you can use for everything in the public and the private sector. So you have a large infrastructure based on one authentication mean, one key to them all. But then, of course, why limit it to Estonia? I mean, Estonia is short of people, Estonia is short of resources, so why not invest into a program, the so-called e-Residency program, in order to attract international talent, in order to give people from across the world actually the tools to authenticate themselves in a digital environment, but also establish, for example, a business in Estonia, establish a business in the European Union. I'll say a little more about this in a moment. Just briefly, the so-called XRoad is actually what allows these 99% of the services to be online because government registries in Estonia are all interconnected. The public sector functions by the principle of digital by default. That means that even though if you submit information on paper, it will be digitized. This information will be digitized, not the fact that the information will be scanned, but the information will be digitally in records. And this also means that actually via the XRoad, via the once-only principle, actually other registers can process this information just like your tax authority does now, that information is taken from other registers in order to pre-fill your application, your tax funds. So once-only actually means that the Estonian government institutions, they are obliged to only ask for information that is not yet stored elsewhere. So they only have the right to ask for information once, right? So you shouldn't be bothered with giving the same bit of information to multiple institutions, but only once. More importantly, maybe most importantly, in the times of GDPR, data fraud, manipulation, etc., you need to be sure that your data is held accountable for. So the truth by design principle actually means by the fact that you have an electronic identity card gives you all the tools you need in order to track actually who has had access to your data. So different government institutions in the XRoad environment, they're actually obliged to log every single access to information that they have on their servers. And you are actually, by the Estonian constitution, it doesn't get much more priority than that. By the Estonian constitution, the Estonian state is actually obliged to tell you what records have been accessed. So you can actually easily check your health records online and see what doctors have actually access to your health record. You can check the population register and see who has had access to your health records, etc., etc. I will not continue talking about the XRoad, but the XRoad is the interoperability layer, the data exchange layer that facilitates the exchange of information, something where Estonia and Finland actually have cooperated very closely, and a similar technology, or the technology is also being used in Finland now to exchange data between different institutions. But how does this affect business? So you have a business register, you can operate your business based on the fact that it's digitized. you can operate your business from anywhere where you are in the world. You can vote in Estonia also electronically. You can do that from anywhere in the world. You're not bound to Estonia anymore. You can do it from anywhere. Even though you're an Estonian citizen or an Estonian resident, you can do it from anywhere. And that's, I guess, the mindset that we're actually talking about that is necessary because we're all moving, at least in the western part of the world. We have the privilege of actually moving wherever you go, and then we actually want access to all the services. So it takes little time to open a company. You can file your reports electronically. The idea is actually that by 2020, tax declarations that by now take 3 minutes should actually be fully automized. Why do you need to spend 3 minutes when your tax declaration is already pre-filled and it's just all numbers? They can just be submitted on your behalf with the premise, of course, that you have control, that you can see what has done on your behalf, that you actually have an opportunity to control. So this is an ambition, but then of course the e-Residency program. And then also very important, of course, most sensitive data there is probably health data. The problem, and now I'm talking briefly from a German perspective, I was born in Eastern Berlin. That was a different state, that was a different time. I grew up in Potsdam, which is close to Berlin. I lived in Kiel in northern Germany during my university years. That means I lived in 3 different cities in 2 different states, German states. And if I now wanted to reconstruct my medical history, what I would need to do is actually go to every single doctor that I've ever been to and ask them, what's my medical record? And then they're very likely to tell me, I'm not going to share that information with you because I don't have the right to do this. I don't have the duty to do this. And then probably also they run into issues that, yeah, I don't know where that information is. So in Estonia, since 2008, you actually have one medical record where you can see your history since 2008. You can see what doctors have issued, what prescriptions. You can see what prescriptions you've actually activated. Now it reminds me, talking about it, that I actually need to call my doctor and ask them to prolong the prescription so I can pick up my, my medication tomorrow. I'm healthy, all good, nothing serious. But this is really the principle. Digitization means that you can actually get access to information that has been held from you, right? So this is the first time that you actually can see information that is necessary for you, that makes you a smarter citizen, that enables you to do smarter decisions based on things that you see. But then finally, the e-Residency. The e-Residency really is the idea. Why is this? I mean, I'm a German citizen living in Estonia. I have, as a resident in Estonia, I'm obliged to have this card. So why not just give this to everyone who's interested? Why not to give this to everyone who's interested in operating a business in the European Union? We do a background check about them. The Estonian Police and Border Guard, it's totally in line with identity, insurance regulations, etc., these kind of things. And then you can then you're issued an identity card. What's important about the identity cards, now imagine I had a second card here. On the second card, you wouldn't see a picture. Estonia doesn't issue citizenship to other people just like that. What's important is that you actually have another document, the e-Residency card, that doesn't have a picture on it, so you don't have a travel document, right? The e-Residency card actually says for electronic use only. This means you can only use this card in order to give digital signatures, which is helpful for you if you're actually in Finland, but you have a business in Estonia. Still, you want to sign some papers, you have business partners around the world, you want to do this digitally, you don't want paper. So this is an option, but also this card allows you to use the the business register and also other services that have developed around this. So this really, yeah, it is a new digital nation. By now we have 50,000 e-residents, about 50,000 e-residents from 155 countries. And what's actually interesting, most of them come from Finland. Again, there's a strong tie between Estonia and Finland, and apparently the Finnish residents, it's about 5,000 of them, they see something in the program, some benefit. Maybe it's establishing companies. Maybe it's the whole signature procedure. So that actually appeals to them. They want to be digital citizens in that sense. They want to use this kind of technology, etc. So the premise here really is to expand the program, to create viable links between international e-residents with the Estonian business environment to actually benefit to the Estonian GDP, to help grow the Estonian economy, to help create lasting ties, but also, of course, to attract talent to Estonia. And then here I actually have a brief slide about the future, what Estonia really is looking into. So zero bureaucracy, invisible services. I mentioned this already with the tax declaration. Why do I have to spend those minutes in front of my computer or my mobile phone when it's all information that is available in digital form? So this means that in the future, taxes can be declared on my behalf based on live events. For example, a child is born, so I'm automatically given the Estonian government's child support. I don't need to apply for anything. I don't need to apply for anything anymore. That's the whole idea, the concept of invisible services that should happen for you on your behalf because you're entitled to it as a citizen of the Republic of Estonia. Cross-border digital governance really is a strong focus area as well. Estonia and Finland have been working very close in terms of the XRoad, in terms of, I don't know if you've heard about it, the so-called Nordic Institute of Interoperability Solutions. That's a tough name. It's called NIS. They have a website, nis.org. And there you can actually see that Estonia and Finland have, the governments have been working very close to get other countries on the boat, on the boat in order to move data across borders, right? Because anywhere where you go, you want to have, anywhere where you live, you want to have access to services, you want the authorities. I don't know, me as a German citizen, I might go back to Germany at some point. I want to get my pension fund that I've been actually paying in Estonia, right? This is this kind of stuff that actually needs to move across borders. It's going to take a long time probably until we're there, particularly with Germany. But this is really what we're looking at here. Cross-border digital governance is necessary in an integrated European Union. And then real-time economy is also a focus that you will actually have the whole full cycle of economy being in real time available, and of course the e-Residency program I mentioned already. So I'm gonna just finish here. Feel free to actually visit us in Estonia. We'll have a new showroom by the 19th of February, a completely redesigned showroom where we showcase Estonian businesses, where we talk about e-governance. It will be a pleasure to have you. But also follow us on social media and etc. And yeah, pleasure to be here. Thank you.